Hi there everyone, thanks for joining me again on the railway. Hope you enjoyed the last video titled Trains and Formations. So today we have 3 titled trains. I'll be running 2 of them and I'll explain why in a minute. But the whole concept of this one will be based on the Royal Scot. So what I shall do is just go through with what I've got here and what will be running, and then I'll give you a little bit of history when they're going around on a slow run, and then we'll have a little running session. Okay, so first off, as you can see, I've parked them strategically on the layout here. So at the back here we have the Royal Scot and the Caledonian. These are LMS coaches and these are BR Mark 1s. The engines today will be Duchess class City of Bristol and A4 Pacific class Lord Farringdon. Lord Farringdon will be pulling the Royal Scot and City of Bristol will be pulling the Caledonian. Incidentally, the Midday Scot, which is the 3rd title train, I should just give a little bit brief history on that. And it's so similar to the Royal Scot in many ways that it's I haven't actually got the Midday Scot pack or the name boards for it, but it ties in with these two. So like I said, I'll just give a brief bit of history on that part of the Royal Scot, and we'll just enjoy them going round. Okay, so I'll just bring in the Lord Farringdon, so you can see that loco. There we go. Yeah, so it's running number 60034, Lord Farringdon. In British Railways livery here, we have it on the side here. This is in a 1948 period, and the livery is not early crest or late crest, so it's got British Railways on the side, so it's after nationalisation. But if you're wondering why she's putting LMS coaches, I'll be talking about that later. Yeah, so what I should do is I'll ring her round the layout very shortly, and we'll get her connected up to the coaches. Right, okay, so I'll bring in the City of Bristol, slowly buffer up. There she is, lovely 8P class of locomotive, 46237, City of Bristol. This train pack from Hornby depicts the Caledonian as it would have been in the 1957, with the BR Mark 1 coaches. Yeah, she's a lovely locomotive. I haven't done a review on her before, but there are so many reviews out there. This is just mainly about train formation. So I know that Sam's Trains, he does extensive reviews on lovely locos that he owns. So yeah, I think I'll pop a link in, and you can always chuff off over to him and see his reviews. They're very well done. So yeah. The 3rd one would have been, like I said, the Midday Scot, but this would have been also pulled by either a Royal Scot loco and later on an 8P, like the one we have here. And obviously, I'll explain why the A4 is on here as well. So yeah, next thing to do, I'll say, is we'll get them running, and I'll give a short little bit of history of the set of 3. Okay, so bear with me. Alright, okay, so we have Lord Farringdon here. I should just back around to the Royal Scot coaches that's sitting in the station. Bear with us. There we go. There we go. Okay. And as I've already pre-coupled her up when showing you City of Bristol, there's no need. So, okay. Right, we'll just have a little quick slow off running session, and then I'll give a bit of history about it. Right, okay, so I've got them at a stable running position at the moment, so I'll just start giving you a bit of history on it. So the Royal Scot first ran in 1862, and this was a British named express passenger train that ran between London Euston and Glasgow Central. The length of the West Coast Main Line, with previously a portion also going to Edinburgh, but for many years it departed from both ends at 10 AM. This was to mirror image the East Coast Flying Scotsman of the time, to be competitive, so you get two separate, deals going on. But from 1874, the train was hauled by LNWR 240s locos. But when the 440 locos became available from 1897, the train was generally hauled by one of the fastest engines available at the time. More modern and more powerful LMS Royal Scot class 7P 460s took over from 1927, and the train became heavier, including the dining cars from 1933 onwards, with more demanding luxurious travel. The Pacifics of 8P LMS Princess class 462s, they took over, and they were shortly followed by the LMS Coronation class during 1937. They worked a non-stop route, but they had a brief stop at Carlisle to change over, unlike the East Coast Main Line, which had the non-stop route with the Flying Scotsman, when they had the interchangeable corridor tenders, like we have here on the A4. But in 1960, the Down Royal Scot had changed departure from Euston at 9:05, and it was speeded up by 40 minutes, and the train by 15 minutes for a new journey time of 7.5 hours. Incidentally, with the other two daytime named trains between London and Glasgow, the one we have here, the Caledonian, and the one I mentioned before, the Midday Scot. All three trains at this period were restricted to 8 coaches to save weight, plus number of passengers was limited to seating capacity of the train. And they both ran in both directions and between London and Carlisle. The Midday Scot, which we haven't got here today, I'm afraid, but it's depicted more closely to the Caledonian, was so named due to its lunchtime daily departure in both directions from London, Euston and Glasgow, and it passed through Carlisle as its stopping point as previous. In the early years, the train called at Rugby, but it was stopped and was accelerated by 49 minutes to a new time of 7 hours and 15 minutes, like the Royal Scot. So instead of stopping off at Rugby, it just had its stop off at Carlisle to match the other two named trains. The third train here we have is the Caledonian, which is just about to pass, which ran during the 1950s and 60s, started in 57, left up in the morning, due in London for mid-afternoon, and left the Down in the afternoon with a Glasgow arrival time in the late evening. The Caledonian was slowed by 25 minutes in the winter of 59 to 60. This was to compensate delays during the electrification process on the West Coast Main Line. In all, after the days of steam, it was hauled by BR 87s, titled Royal Scots by BR, or better known at the time as Electric Scots. The service was lost, and it was the last service, I believe, was in 2003, and there's no other service equivalent to its special train name. But this Royal Scot train formation here, the one that I have on the layout, it was set a week prior to the official start of the BR Exchange trials, which commenced in May 1948. The A4 class was used, and the coach boards were not yet repainted, and this is why they still carried the LMS livery. So during that time, they were doing exchange. Engines from all over the region were being used on mixed lines. So you had Duchesses on the southern, you had Great Westerns on the northern, and Scottish lines. They're all mixed up a bit. Not to coincide with their region. So this is why we have an A4 alongside some LNS coaches on a West Coast mainline service. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. The informativeness of it was slightly brief, but I hope you got what out I could give. I do find it very interesting, all these train formations and how they were run and operated and how they came together. And the unusualness of this Royal Scot, I think, depicts a very good image of it. I will do an actual Royal Scot train with a proper Royal Scot locomotive in the future. And I'd love to do a whole rake with the full 8 of all 3. That would be absolutely lovely. But for now, yeah, I'll just let you enjoy some moments here with these 2 locos. Sorry for the midday Scot not being available to be run today. If you would like me to do that, I'll have to get back to you very later in the times, because I don't actually own that one yet. But header boards are available, so I can do a mock-up one with a similar engine. So yeah, thank you once again for watching my title train series. And if there is another one you'd like me to show, I will. What I shall do is I'll put a link at the top for some suggestions, and if you want to just put a little tick against the one that you'd like to see, and then I can review that one and give a bit of history like I've done here. Okay, so apart from that, I wish you all good health, and I shall see you all soon. Take care very much. Bye.